views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis.
And good evening, one and all. This is After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Michael O'Neill. Got a big show on tap tonight for everybody. We have Doug Hajicek joining us next hour, top of next hour. He is the producer, executive producer of Monster Quest. He's the man behind that and also a lot of other great documentaries, mainly dealing with the Bigfoot phenomena, but not limited to. Monster Quest, of course, as you know, long-running TV series on the History Channel, has gone everywhere from Bigfoot to Loch Ness Monster to Mothman, you name it. So we're going to cover a lot of ground with Doug in 1 hour, as much as we can with him, and he's got a lot to say and a lot of things to cover with us. So it's top of next hour. You're really going to enjoy that. Mike, that being said, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited to be back.
Yeah, right? It
But
is nice being back.
it is.
It is nice.
I have missed the show, missed our wonderful listeners.
Right?
And
Missed them all. I love them all.
so yeah, eager to get started here. How about yourself?
I've been great. We had a big weekend, of course, last weekend. The Minnesota Bigfoot Conference went off without a hitch. A lot of people showed up. Heard a lot of great Bigfoot stories of the Squatchy variety there. Some scary, some happy, some funny. All kind of run the gamut of what we heard. Yeah.
So I don't mean to sound like I'm disparaging any of the stories or anything, but didn't they all end with, I don't have any proof, I just saw?
Well, no, I mean, yes, I guess. In a nutshell, I mean, proof is spotty. You're right. You know, a lot of the stories that you hear, people do encounter a Bigfoot or see it or what have you, they're kind of out of position to take a picture. You know, or it's so fast and so fleeting that they don't even have a chance to get the camera out. A lot of it that way. And then other people have long-running Bigfoot problems, as it were, of their homes being attacked by Bigfoot. So, you know, take the stories for what they are. But one thing I always remember, these people have nothing to gain by telling their story.
Except for, like, world-renowned, like, fame. For 15
Yeah, for that second anyway.
I mean,
You know?
now, if you have any sort of story, you can get a show now. You can be on a show. I mean, you have even paranormal caught on camera. So even if it's blurry, you still have 5 people saying they have no idea what that is. They've never seen that before, and then they interview you via Skype.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Boy, I really don't have a good answer for you. I know you're not of the believer type in the Bigfoot camp. You're a skeptic. You are a skeptical believer, is what you are. You want to believe that there's something out there. We all do.
I do believe in Bigfoot. Not so much in the, like, he's some creature or whatever that we just haven't discovered yet. I'm kind of leaning more towards the like interdimensional type traveler, which is why he seemingly comes and goes.
So you're a believer of the paranormal Bigfoot in a way of traveling around.
Correct.
Gotcha. You know, you're not the only one.
Well, right. I mean, they're kind of split, you know, with the believers. Like, it's either an offshoot of gorilla and it's just some species we haven't been smart enough to find yet, as opposed with, crossing the road and a blurry video, or he comes and goes as he pleases through interdimensional vortex. And, my question is why? At that
I
point.
understand
Like,
that. I heard all sorts of great stories, and everything from UFOs and Bigfoot, Bigfoot being an extra dimensional rather than being a flesh and blood creature in this dimension only.
Yeah.
A lot of different stories, which would explain why he's so damn good at hiding, I guess. A lot of it, because he's the world champion social distancing.
Social
right now.
distancing.
He is the champ. You can't, He was doing it before it was cool to do it.
He's been the running world champion of hide and seek forever.
Yeah. But when you interviewed a lot of people and you hear them tell their story, I mean, some are you can just kind of tell or just to have a story to tell. Others are actually afraid, or others are just tell me I'm not crazy. This is what I saw. Kind of stories, and those are kind of the ones that get me. The ones that are really heartfelt and you just tell that it's coming from a place of sincerity.
Right. I mean, I always say, because a lot of people, if they come to me with one of their stories or they have a question, they always start with, "You're going to think I'm crazy," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You always get that. And my response to that always is, well, as long as you're not going to tell me that you're pregnant with Bigfoot's baby, I think we're okay.
Well, next year there will be another one. It was a big success, had a lot of fun. Abe put on a hell of a show, but I like to say I helped a bit. I did what I could to push the thing forward when I could, but really it was a lot of work on all fronts, and it came together, and it was a hell of a weekend.
Excellent. I'm sorry that I missed it.
Yeah, next year you'll be there.
Perhaps.
Next year. Next year,
it's always next year.
You have
blow
to
ourselves
be there.
up.
Right. It'll be even better next year, because God willing, we won't have COVID-19 hanging over our head. God willing.
That would be a welcomed.
Wouldn't it
change.
be nice just to be able to go somewhere without having a mask on?
I honestly do not mind the mask at all.
No.
No, I don't.
I seem to forget them. Thank God I keep a bunch in my
car,
truck.
'cause why else would I need it?
Yeah. But I keep mine in my truck. I keep a bunch of them in my truck. And so, because I'm always losing them. Like over the Bigfoot weekend, I must have lost like 2 of them. And these are the nice cloth ones, right? So I did buy a Bigfoot mask. Not Halloween type, but the mask you wear to go out. Although I did have a question, and maybe you can answer this. I wonder if Halloween masks count.
I doubt it.
He's wearing a mask.
Because the whole point of the mask is to cover your nose and mouth, and that is the one part of the mask besides the eyes. And the eyes are actually just as important too. Because if you get the disease or the virus on your hands and rub your eyes, you can still get it.
That is what I was hearing the other day.
So the mask, actually, the only parts that are uncovered are the parts you need covered.
Your eyes.
Well, your eyes, your nose, and your mouth.
Yeah. Well, how about your ears? Really, it's open. So
I have not heard anybody getting it by sticking their finger in their ears. Although that would be hilarious.
Well, I would imagine goggles will be the next step, because you are right. There is some evidence to support you can get
Give me one of those scuba diving masks and a snorkel, and I'll be okay.
You better You better cover that snorkel. I wanted to laugh so bad when you said that. You better cover that mask or that hole from your scuba diving mask with some really good, cloth, because otherwise it's doing you no good.
There we go. That's what it'll be.
There you go. Just you know what? Say screw it all and get yourself a Russian military grade gas mask. You know, the really ugly ones where it's got the two little eye holes. You can run around. Sound like Darth Vader.
That'd be actually pretty sweet. I would probably get shanked walking.
Can I get some Thin Mints?
When you go to the store.
Did you just say Thin Mints?
I did. Because the only thing that fit in your mask is a Thin Mint. That's all you'd be left with is pancakes and Thin Mints.
A lifesaver.
Maybe a lifesaver.
I was going to say a lightsaber.
Right? We're having way too much fun. We're having way too much fun with this. But anyway, masks serve a purpose, so maybe I definitely highly recommend wearing one if you are out and about, even if it is a scuba diving mask. You know, a diver's helmet, maybe.
That would be really heavy. Like one of those old
the old copper ones. Yeah, that'd kill you. Your shoulders
Yeah.
would be dead at the end of the night.
But-
Holding that thing up.
But you would look so cool.
You would. But does it offer any kind of virus protection is what I'd be worried about. Because the look might be there.
Look, yeah.
But the protection might not be.
It depends on if you left an opening or not.
It'd be like
if you were sealed in with an air supply, then I think you'd be
I'd say it'd be
okay.
kind of like using a condom you made from screen door material.
Well, there you go. Just throw a condom over your head.
You should try that, Mike.
Just get one of those porn star sizes.
Oh my god!
And pull it over your head and see if that helps.
Oh my god! Moving along. I know I opened that door. I know I did. We got a lot of stories to get to tonight.
Just saying.
Yeah. Again, the weekend was great. Minnesota
Yes.
Bigfoot Conference. Look for it again in 2021. It'll be even bigger, better. But thank you for everyone that did come out. And we all had a great time together. But we social distanced, and we had hand sanitizer to use. So we made sure we're doing it responsibly at the same time. So that being said, let's move along. Jackie writes in, I'm moving into a new apartment soon, and I recently found out someone was violently murdered in the building's 5th floor, 5 floors below me, in the 90s. I've read a lot about the man who was killed, and he seems like a very kind person. I would like to cleanse the apartment before I move in, and unfortunately do not think I can have any professionals due to the COVID. I've read conflicting opinions on smudging. Joel and Mike, help! What should I do? Well, I'm not sure that if you haven't had any paranormal activity, or maybe the tenants before you, maybe you're overreacting just a little bit, Jackie. But let's just say you are having some paranormal activity and you've heard conflicting opinions, and I'm right there with you. I've heard good, I've heard bad, I have heard indifferent. I would say proceed with caution, but definitely do your homework before you make that kind of leap. You're right to talk to us first.
You're right to talk to us first. That's right. Make sure you seek our advice.
That's
first.
right. We evidently
Before you
are
do
the
any
oracles.
Paranormal activity.
We
at
are.
all.
We are the oracles of paranormal knowledge. Evidently, whether we want to be or not, we're
I
it.
would love to be. I just don't think I am. But so first, I just want to say thank you for including me in your request for help. I like that. I don't get that very often.
Yes, you
This
do all the
is-
time.
I don't think so.
Not
I'm starting
enough.
to. I'm starting to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you, Joel. I think Jackie, I think you're overreacting a little bit. I mean, this happened in the 90s, and if people have not experienced anything in that building because of it, I mean, you can easily talk to your neighbors and stuff, especially since you're supposed to introduce yourself anyway. Ask them, hey, I found out somebody was murdered 40 years ago. Or, well, it'll be 30. But, you know, have you experienced anything? I mean, if the answer is always no, you really don't have anything to worry about. Plus, it would, unless you're a sensitive, somebody that's actually going to draw him to you, he's probably going to haunt, if he is there, he's going to haunt the apartment he was murdered in, not yours 5 floors up. However, I mean, I think you can have a professional help you if that's what you want to do. I mean, you really just, it's one person, and you wear a mask, they wear a mask, and then you clean up really after they leave, or you stay away from. I mean, the thing that you could probably do, I mean, especially if you trusted somebody to do it, is leave, let them do their thing, and then come back like 4 hours later. I mean, by that time,
That's reasonable.
Because the virus only lasts hour and a half, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
Hour and a half on a surface.
Yeah.
So if nobody's in your apartment for 2, 3, 4 hours after everybody leaves, essentially you should be okay.
You're in the clear. But on the flip side of that coin, there have been people that have had no paranormal activity and decided they want to smudge anyway because they want to get positive energy in, and it's woken something up.
That is true. I mean, you're messing with the energy of the place. But, you know, especially, I mean, if this guy seems like a very kind person, even if he comes to your apartment, he's probably not going to do anything.
As in life, as in death, usually. I mean, if it's a good person in life, it's going to be a good person in death. I don't think you have anything to worry about, Jackie. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
You'll find out in short order anyway when you introduce yourself, or even before you move in, like Mike had said. Go introduce yourself, ask them, hey, anything strange? You know, say even talk about the murder that you heard about. And maybe they'll open up to you and say if they've seen anything strange, or if maybe the former tenant, if you knew who that was, talk to them a little bit. And find out why they moved out. And I'm sure it's not related to the murder. It's probably other reasons.
Yeah. Like it was just time.
Just time
bought
to go.
a house.
That's right. Bought a house, had a couple kids. You know, you just never know. There's lots of reasons why people leave apartments. They are transient by nature, apartments.
Yeah. I definitely would, though, not recommend smudging yourself.
Nah.
I mean, like doing it yourself, not smudging yourself, but actually like smudging your apartment yourself. Because if it's done wrong, like Joel said, you could probably mess up what is not there.
Well, really quickly, after you're done with this, I have a story to add. I have a fresh story to add that happened to me just the other day, by the way, when you're done finishing your thought. Okay.
My thought is complete.
The other night, we're in my house, and we're getting ready for bed. And all of a sudden, we hear someone stomping like they're wearing work boots. Boom, 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 boom. And I live in a fairly large house, so the noise has to be pretty substantial for me to hear all the way upstairs. So I came downstairs, Jennifer and I, my wife, because she heard it first, and she said, "Do you hear that downstairs?" And I said, "Yeah, I hear something." So we came downstairs. I checked all the doors and all the windows. Everything was still locked up tight, not a problem. And so we decided, well, maybe it was just our own, maybe the dog or something was making noise. Someone was making noise maybe in the house. So then we go back to bed, or attempt to, and then we hear the same, louder this time, noises of somebody in our home making a noise. I mean, I'm talking like full-blown party time downstairs in our house. So the second time we get up, we check the kids, make sure it's none of them causing troubles, because we do have a sometimes night owl 4-year-old that likes to get up.
I can attest to that.
He was sleeping. He was sound asleep. So was our little girl, and our oldest son was all sleeping. Not a problem. Like asleep. And we're hearing this, and we're on our top floor, and we're still hearing this go on. So I go downstairs first. Jennifer follows me, and we look again. Nothing's going on. So I stop. And I remembered I was gone over the weekend, and sometimes the spirits of my home hate it when I leave. So this is what I did, is I stopped for about a second. I said, "Okay, guys, we all have to live here together. I don't mind you're here, not a problem, but can you hold it down?" Not a peep after that. Not one little peep.
Yep.
That's all it took.
Smudging. I was going to say smudging not required.
No, just said, hey, we all got to live here. And I realized, maybe you guys were angry that I left, or whatever is going on that you didn't like, or maybe you were having a party for all I know. Just keep it down. I don't care that you're here. Just keep it down. And it quit that instant. and has not come back, the noise.
There you go.
And that's all it took. Just a little personal empowerment, going down there, talking with them. Because generally speaking, people that die are the same as when they're alive. You know, personalities are intact, from my experience. And so you just kind of talk with them like you would anyone else. Just explain, hey, you know what? It's cool that you're here. I don't mind you being here. I mean, we have ground rules in our house with our spirits. Like, hey, bedrooms are kind of off limits. You don't ever scare the kids. And so they have abided by all those rules. So I don't mind them being here. It's just when they're damn loud like that. And I'm trying to sleep. So that's it. That's my story.
Leave Mike alone. That's
it has rule. Left you alone. Yeah,
it has.
It did leave you alone.
Nothing.
Nothing.
In fact, the only strange noises I heard were your 4-year-old son coming down to watch TV and drink Code Red.
Yeah, and party in the morning. Yeah, like party like a rock star downstairs where he thought everyone was sleeping. Yeah.
All right. Moving on. This next one comes from Kimberly. She writes in, "Hi guys, love the show. I listen to you guys all the time. Thank you very much. Something strange is happening. Last night, my toddler told me there was wind in her room and it knocked her down onto her pillow. She said it was really scary and she cried. She did wake up crying twice early this week, which never happens. I asked her where the wind came from and she said her mirror. We've caught orbs in her room before and we suspect a few deceased relatives visit her based on things she said. I'm struggling to ascertain if the wind mirror is real or if it was a bad dream. If it was real, any idea what it could be? This is the only time she's ever expressed fear from her paranormal encounters, so I'd like to find a way to prevent it from happening again if possible."
It only happened once.
It's only... Well, so far.
So far, it's only happened once. She's trying to head it off the pass, it sounds like.
Yes. Well, I mean, she appears to have had encounters before, but they haven't bothered her. Because they've probably been, as Kimberly said, deceased relatives.
Sure. But the wind from the mirror, that's interesting.
Yes. So there's a widely known theory in the paranormal that mirrors can be portals. Can be made to be portals.
Yeah.
Say what?
Spectromancy.
Sure.
That is when you see a ghost in a mirror, or it comes out of a mirror. That's called spectromancy.
Well, I learn something new every day. I heard the term before, but anyway, I'm more of a layman, I guess. But
move along, sir. Move along.
Move along. Nothing to see here. But mirrors can be portals.
Sure, they can.
And I guess if this bothers you, especially if this happens again. If you can, I would remove the mirror and see what happens. Maybe move it to another room. Move it to your room.
Move it to your room.
Move it to your room.
Put it in there. Maybe you need a fan or something.
What? Maybe you need a fan.
Certain if the wind mirror is real.
Oh, right. Gotcha. So, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No. It's not trying to make it funny, man. Just trying to keep it light.
No, I'm sorry. So, I would move the mirror if it happens again. I mean, if this is a one-off, and she goes back to like just seeing her relatives, then I guess I would move on and not worry about it too much. But yeah, mirrors actually can be portals.
They can be. There's something called a psychomantium that involves a mirror. And I don't recommend anyone doing it, but
no.
And I won't describe how to do it either. But it's a ritual that people do to draw spirits through a mirror.
Just keep describing what it is, Joel.
I will not describe how to do it. I'll describe what it is, but I will not tell you how to make it.
I understand. Well, that's good. But yeah, if it continues to happen, then yeah, take it out.
Fun fact,
remove it.
Bloody Mary is actually a spectromancy case.
Well, yeah. You got to say it into a mirror 3 times.
3 times. Never had one show up, though.
Nope.
I tried it once when I was,
mean-
at camp.
That could be, something as a result of Bloody Mary not being real.
No, that really could be as well. But then other people will tell me, I so saw it, I came at the mirror and it was going to kill me and stuff. And I'm like,
No.
yeah, but you're telling me and you're still alive, right?
Yeah, they're lying.
I'm still here. Well, then didn't want to kill you too badly then. You're right there in front of a mirror.
I beat it down with a stick.
Beat it down. Showed it was boss.
Yeah.
Beat it.
Nope, they're lying.
They are. We're going to run a break, though.
Are we?
Because kind of in between stories, the next one is a little bit of a involved answer, as you were discussing off air, because it has to do with what we talked about with Bishop James Long. But we can get into it if you'd like right now.
No. I was just going to add one fun fact to Kimberly's thing before we go. So, fun fact: saying Playboy Playmate 3 times has the exact same results.
Yeah, nothing. Mike's tried.
Nothing.
He'll tell you. He's tried a lot. We come back. We're going to
that's
continue
original,
with your
I can get
stories. We'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. Set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the Wacky Waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the Wacky Waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Michael O'Neill. We left on talking all about Kimberly and the mirror incident. We're going to move on. Tina writes in, hello, Joel and Mike. My apologies for the weird question, but I'm curious. I know that things like exorcism make it easier to get rid of normal demons, but what about an incubus or succubus? How difficult would it be to get rid of those through exorcism? Well, I'm not an exorcist, but we have talked to several.
Yes.
And the protocol is a little bit different. There's a lot more involved because there's a lot of emotion involved in both of those. Now, for anyone listening, those demons, the incubus and the succubus, stay away from them, number one. Number two, it's more of an emotional bond you have to get through as well, because normally, put the kids to bed, normally has to do with sexual feelings with those two as well. So that can be also just as difficult to break. Now, to get rid of them, I'd be on the phone to someone like Bishop James Long in a heartbeat, man. I wouldn't leave it to someone like me to do it. But, because I'm not qualified at all. Michael, I know you have your own thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, yeah, but everything that I know came from my conversation with Bishop James Long on my other show, The Odyssey Files. We had him like 2-3 weeks after he was on the show last, and this was actually a topic that we covered. He really wanted to talk about it, and so he gave a lot of really great information on them. But the reason that he says that they're difficult, and I remember now that incubuses and succubuses are way more difficult to exercise, almost to the point where you can't do it, is because they don't stay. Like, they don't stay in possession of the body. They come and attack you.
Yeah.
But, an exorcism gets the demon out of the body. But if these demons are not actually in the body, if they're just constantly sexually assaulting you,
they just show up to do their dirty work and then leave, generally speaking.
Yeah, they're the wham bam, no thank you, ma'am,
kind
demon.
Of demonic
entity. So, I mean, Bishop James Long, he talked about a woman that I think she was in her 60s, and he had to work with her for like 5 years. Off and on, because she was constantly being attacked by I think it was an incubus. But
that would be, if she's a female, incubus.
What? Succubuses can't be lesbians?
Well, they generally don't. I mean, I'm sure there are cases of them being that, but generally speaking, the incubus is a male and the succubus is a female.
I know, but I was trying to remember exactly if he actually specifically said which one it was, or if he just said I had one of these, but so they are very, very, very difficult to get rid of, and usually exorcism, when it comes to an incubus or a succubus, exorcism is not going to be, it's not going to be the answer.
No, it's not. No, different point of attack you got to use.
I would say different strokes for different folks. But
but people have a way of inviting those in, just like any other. So what, keep your thoughts kind of pure and yourself pure and things like that, and don't dabble in things you shouldn't be dabbling in. Generally speaking, you'll be just fine, because it's not like they're on the street just looking. I mean, you have to invite them into your life.
Right. And the sad thing is that I think, according to, if I remember what he was telling us, like, it doesn't have to be specifically like I invite an incubus or I invite a succubus here with me. Like, just being like sexually active might get their attention.
Promiscuous,
I didn't want to say promiscuous.
Well, what I'm saying is that's what he said on air to us. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all. In the least, I'm just saying that it would affect somebody of that ilk more than it would Sister Mary down at the parish.
Yeah. You definitely have to draw their attention in some way.
So, that being said, just be careful. That's all. Be careful.
Definitely.
I'm tiptoeing very lightly.
I think that what I was told was like the only way to legitimately get over it is you have to take control of yourself and your life. You have to like change all kinds of things about your life in order to, I guess, make you less scrumptious.
Yes. Remember, breaking up is hard to do.
Yeah. Don't think that phrase came about because of a demonic entity.
No. I got a funny story. These aliens allegedly were bothering this lady, right? And she says they always come in at night and they sexually assault me and then they leave and they we talked and kind of talked her through it, going, well, this and this, kind of got her to calm down. And I said, well, empower yourself to not, you have to take a stand, the normal things you would say. And she did, of course, and they left. And then she writes me back, is there any way I can have them come back once in a while, though?
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way because she started missing the pleasure, And it's like, oh my good Lord. Okay.
I'm sorry. I may not be like 100% positive on a lot of theories, but I'm pretty sure demonic entities do not do timeshare.
No, pretty sure. Pretty sure that's not their gig. All right. Moving along.
All right, this one comes from Donna. Hi, guys. I hope the story finds you both well. Yesterday, my sister, who's 36, told me that she saw something in the yard. She lives in a rural block on a huge block, and it was 6:15 p.m. and the sun was still up. She was cooking for her family. They were all outside, still playing, and she doesn't know what made her look, but in the bushes, she saw a long-legged creature. Its knees were bent backward. It was brown in color and with almost like a hunched back. She described the skin as leather-looking. It ran into another bush, and she said it was fast. She almost got the vibe that it was cheeky. I don't know what that means. It was trying to play hide and seek with her.
Yeah, it's
She she didn't alert her family, but she suddenly found herself inside the house for absolutely no reason. She remembers walking inside, but was kind of like, why am I in here? And she turned and went back outside. The creature was gone at this point. She didn't see its face or its head, but said it was definitely taller than a grown man. Have you guys experienced anything like this or heard of anything similar?
Well, I have not experienced it, but I have heard of similar encounters.
Well, that makes one of us, Joel.
A hodag, I think, if I'm not remembering that correctly. I'd have to look it up. It's in Wisconsin. There's a creature that they claim that kind of fits that bill. And if you go to northwestern part of the state, it's a creature of lore. And then others would say, well, I'm going to use your famous one, Puckwudgie. People describe them looking that way as well. Sometimes there has been leather-looking skin on Puckwudgies, according to some people. And they will appear to have the backwards knees, stuff like that. Because there's different varieties of these little fellers out there, Puckwudgies. Lots of them, I guess. I've only seen one Puckwudgie in my life, and that was enough. And what I would say is you might have had a really brief encounter with also maybe an alien. So the book's open on what that was that you saw. But I guess the question would be is, does your sister feel connected with her at a mind level? So maybe it controlled her a bit to maybe make her go inside so it can make its escape? That would be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. So I looked up the hodag.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like it's the dragon from the Never-Ending Story.
Yeah,
only with more horns.
Yeah, people have mentioned it can either be on all fours, or it can have that look on two legs. Now there's a couple different conflicting reports of what the hodag looks like.
Gotcha.
It's a famous cryptid from that area.
Well, I mean, because the thing that got me, because I had this image in my head of, while I was originally reading it, and then it got to it was the size of a grown man. I'm like, okay, well, that gets rid of a whole bunch of things. What actually came to mind while I was reading was the description of the aliens in the movie The Arrival. Not the one with Jodie Foster.
No,
but
Charlie
the one
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. You very well could have seen a gray.
Yeah, could have. But I don't know. Have they ever been described as having the backwards knees?
Yeah, and I've also heard theories that they appear the way that they want to be seen.
I don't know if I would give the Greys that ability, but Puckwedgies do it. Puckwedgies can appear however they want to.
Yeah, I saw a Puckwedgie in the Bridgewater Triangle.
Well, yeah.
Because that's where they hang out.
Well, they hang out all over the place.
They do, but that's where the concentration seems to be of the most sightings.
That's their New York City?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, they're everywhere, according to the lore, but that is kind of like their area. Now, is it because of that's where the writers of the books chose to put their New York City? I don't know, because I firmly believe that they're everywhere, because I think that they're really tied to Native American lore, the Puckwedgie. Yes, yeah. And Native Americans have been all over the place, rightfully so. This is their land long before we moved in. And so it would stand to believe that they could be anywhere, to be honest with you. But they are little creatures, little tricksters. They do like to trick people as well. But they also like to lure some people in the woods to their demise. So be careful, too. Don't just run into the woods with anything.
Right. Just as children should not take candy or talk to strangers, adults should not follow Puckwedgies.
No, don't do it. They might be cute and interesting and have a great little tune. They'll sing to you, but don't do it. Don't follow.
Really, they'll sing to you?
Yeah. That's been one of the reports.
Are they any good?
They're not the Beatles. I mean, it's not like they'll be that good.
Well,
it is a bit of a.
Doesn't answer my question.
Well,
actually,
what it mainly does, according to lore, is it will hypnotize you. Their song, kind of like the Siren song,
or the Pied Piper,
or the Pied Piper, to get you to walk.
Okay, sorry. Got a vision in my head.
Right. Randy writes in, I recently lost a close friend of mine, and I've been trying this way that helps with grief, where you talk to the spirit. The last 2 times I've talked to them, I felt a presence, particularly, even though that's not how it's spelled, their presence, even though I never met them. Something just tells me it's them. The first time I felt them, I was talking to them like normal, and I was starting to get upset because I missed them. I felt a hand on my shoulder, and it comforted me. The second time, I was just talking to them after finding something that reminds me of them. I know how crazy this sounds, but I don't feel alone anymore. I felt their presence, and like I could hug them. Sorry, it's written a little rough. So I did. I hugged the air, and it felt like someone was hugging me back. Or that I hugged someone, rather. Well, Randy, I mean, if you're really close to somebody, and what's to say they can't come back and visit you and comfort you in your time of grief? I mean, we've all had those experiences. I mean, there's times I could just swear to God my dad's with me because I just know his energy. And I, being my father, and it makes me feel better.
Yeah. I didn't know if you were done.
I am done. Go ahead. You go ahead. You weigh in.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think that because you've never physically met them, I don't think that matters.
No. Spirit.
Yeah. If you get to know somebody and you become, I don't want to say deeply involved, but, they become, for all intents and purposes, your family, beyond blood. Yeah, I mean, that's going to connect you spiritually. which is what's going on here far more than anything physical. So you thinking about them is probably what drew them to you. So I mean, I have no doubt that it probably was them, and that they came because you were calling to them, so to speak. It's all right.
Grief has a funny way of bringing them to you too, but there's also a school of thought that when you grieve so hard, it doesn't allow them to rest.
That is correct.
And so if you can get past that grief a little bit, you might all feel better about it. And even if that was just a close online friend, it's still a friend, someone that was there for you, somebody you talked to, somebody you developed a relationship with. It doesn't make it worth any less than if it was a physical friendship, like you could give them a high five or a hug in real life. It's really the same thing. That emotional camaraderie is still there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just even though I don't think that this is what is happening with Randy, I think that's a very, very good point that you brought up about if you can't let go, you can end up trapping spirits on this plane. I've had a case where that was actually the issue, where family could not let a loved one go, even built a shrine in the basement to them, and they were stuck until they were able to let go. And I'm not saying that, Randy, you have to do that, but like I said, I don't think that this is what's happening here. I just wanted to put that out there for anybody who may, especially in this day and age of this pandemic and people dying every 80 seconds.
Yeah.
Grief. I mean, there's nothing wrong with grief. You don't need to be paranoid that your grief is going to hold them there, but do so, and I guess I would say in a timely fashion, if that's kind of insensitive of me, but you do need to let them go.
Normally, grieving has a process.
Yes.
And normally you didn't say how long ago you'd lost this friend. It could have been.
We said it recently, so I'm assuming
so you might be very new in your grieving process. So also cut yourself a little bit of break too. You will heal. You will move on. It will be okay. You're going to start going through that whole phases of grieving. And when you're ready to let go, but remember, be mindful that grief is temporary, and they need to go on their spirit journey as well. You can't hold them down, because that's not fair to do that to them. So, my 2 cents on that.
Absolutely. It was good. It was worth a nickel.
There you go. My opinion's free, and it's worth every penny, let me tell you.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Our last one comes from Tammy. She writes in, I was just wondering if someone had a similar experience. A few years ago, I was facing depression and went to my mom's house for a couple of months. I grew up at that house, and even though I feel comfortable there, I always heard noises and hated being left alone after dark. One night, I woke up and saw this woman by my bed. She was dressed in what looked like an old wedding dress, really worn out, and a veil that covered her entire head. As I was looking at her, she reached out to me. I got spooked and looked away. Then I woke up my husband, but he didn't see a thing. I was wondering if someone else ever saw this worn-out bride.
I have not seen a worn-out bride, personally.
I have not seen a worn-out bride. I've not had a case with a worn-out bride, but, there's always that myth, that urban legend or whatever of the woman in white. Mm-hmm. It's a white gown, it's a wedding dress. I think a lot of the stories that wrap around the woman in white is she was somehow betrayed.
Love gone wrong, every one of them.
Love gone wrong. That sort of thing.
Every hotel, every hotel has a woman in white somewhere that's haunting the place. You go to all these hotels, there's a woman in white that haunts these grounds. Every haunted hotel I've gone to has a woman in white. Can't get away from this chick. Although I've never seen her, can't get away from her.
I don't think it's the same chick.
No, it's not, really, but it's always the old paranormal trope. The woman in white. You know, she was waiting for her love to come back from the sea and threw herself off the third balcony. And now she walks these grounds. So now, that begs the question, before you went to bed, were you watching something in that order on television, Tammy? Not saying that you were. I'm just saying that maybe, was there any kind of influence maybe that before you went to bed that might have had that on your mind? And there's been moments where I swear to God I've seen something when it was just my own mind playing tricks on me.
That's pretty specific, though. I mean,
it is, but so are all the stories of the woman in white. You know, they're always either brides or mistresses. Okay, they're always dying because the heartbroken lover's gone, and you know, for whatever reason, A, they go back to their wife, B, they lost at sea or suicide, what have you. So it's all very predictable. She is being very specific. I will give her that. Detailed. And you're not wrong. Yeah. It's been very detailed. But you've only seen it the one time. And you grew up in this house. And you've always felt comfortable. That's why it makes you kind of think that what were the influences before you went to bed?
There's that. There's also, you know, obviously, if we want to think that this woman that you saw is a woman in white that follows the same pattern of a broken heart, you can also make the case that she was depressed, sad, you know, grief stricken. And whereas Tammy said at that time she was facing depression, she might have saw this woman or drawn this woman to her because they matched emotionally at that point, or spiritually at that point in time.
It could very well be. That could be the case, because I would imagine if you probably know the history of your home that you grew up in, at least a little bit, I would imagine that throughout the years somebody would say, you know, there's a woman in white that haunts this house.
Yeah, somebody would have said,
or even a
like
story, or something on that note of, you know, love gone wrong, and this is what happened in this home. Something, because ghost stories are handed down generation to generation, especially in family homes. You know, my grandma told me this house is haunted. Really? By who? Well, she doesn't remember. Her grandma told her. So they kind of get handed down and told and changed as they go. So
urban legends.
Gotta love them. Even family homes have them.
Oh yeah, I don't want to say they're the worst, because some of them are legitimate. I mean, like the history of the home is actually factual.
Mm-hmm. That is true. That is very, very true. Again, if you have any stories, afterhoursam@gmail.com. If you haven't written in or you want to write in, thank you to everybody that took your time to write in and give us these great stories. This segment is always so much fun because you guys are the ones driving this segment. This is all about you guys. And so I know you guys keep them coming, and we do appreciate that. And we do not forget who got us here. It's you guys. So again, thank you so much. And like I said, you guys keep writing, and we're going to keep reading.
Yeah, it gets the brain juices flowing.
It does. I like all the stories we get. Some are a little different than others, but they're all enjoyable in their own right to read. Some of them, you know, have been funny over this last couple of years since we've been doing it. But one thing that is reoccurring, and I just got a message before showtime, is shadow people. Shadow people are definitely a thing to ask us to explain in detail, if we have time at the end of all these, what shadow people are. Well, that's a show on its own right there, in detail. But shadow people are basically, in my opinion, and only my opinion, if you're a paranormal investigator, maybe you've experienced this, it's a ghost that can't quite manifest in a lot of times. Now, is it a shadow person, or is it just a shadow figure? The shadow figure is more the manifestation, and shadow person has been explained to have an actual thought process behind it that is completely different than something that's just trying to manifest and just can't quite do it. Shadow person has been talked about as being evil. They've been talked about they played the good guy, the bad guy, and the indifferent guy in a lot of different stories.
And they really cannot be removed by any measure that we really know of right now. Like, if you have an actual shadow person, not shadow figure, shadow person, you're either going to have to move or live with it.
Or there's been stories where they follow the people, that you're what's attracting them.
Well, it depends, because I think some of them are there for the land or whatnot. I mean, there have been a lot of stories of people moving, and they've been all right.
No,
but yeah, if the shadow person is after you, well, then yeah, they're going to come with.
Now, they could, in some circles, they fall into the elemental category. I've seen some people say.
No,
I don't believe that.
I would put them in that category.
No, I would not.
They do not do anything for this earth.
No, and other people claim that there are aliens involved with them, and that would be the Hat Man. The Hat Man is a completely different entity unto itself, although it does fall into the shadow person realm. The Hat Man has also been seen hanging around gray aliens. So
yep, and reptilians.
And reptilian, you name it. He's kind of like a paranormal gun for hire, it would seem.
He's a mercenary.
I think he really is. The more I look into it, it almost seems like whatever this is a bit of a paranormal gun for hire, a mercenary. Kind of shows up. Or maybe he is the enforcer of the other dimensions.
He is something. And definitely what he is someone you do not want to encounter.
No, that's not something you want to deal with at all. I've just recently got an email about somebody encountering the Hat Man in the woods.
Yep, that can happen.
Where he's just right there in the woods with them. They're going for a hike in the woods, and there he is. Because a lot of times you hear the Hat Man in urban settings, like apartments and houses. Stuff like that. Not often do you hear, but although it is possible, in the woods. So, that was one we will be following up on next week. We're going to take a deep dive, hour 1, into that story about the Hat Man. You guys want to hear about it? We'll talk about the Hat Man. That's not a problem. But that seems to be our number one requested thing, Michael, that we talk about hour 1, is go deep into the Hat Man.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I don't want to go deep into him.
I can sense the excitement in you. It's just
I am excited. Yeah,
you're just saturating the airways.
Yes. We will do that for you guys next week. We'll do a full-on expose of the Hat Man. If that's what you want, then that's what you guys will get. We can do that. We could definitely tick that box for you.
Fun.
It'll be a good time. All right, now we got 1 minute left. Actually, we got a little bit more. Not a whole lot more, but there's this really cool event coming up. And that is Michael O'Neill's hosting it. And, I'll do my best to help, like I always do. And because of COVID-19, we're facing the cancellation of this year's Para-Unity event. Postponement. All right, cancellation is a hard word. Let's go with postponement. So we will see you in July 2021. But just to kind of make everyone feel better and make us feel better, we're putting on a hell of an event for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can either go to mnparacon.com and $20. You get October 2nd and 3rd, which were the original dates for the Para-Unity convention. You get, I'll send you the link to register for the event. You get both days. So far, I've got commitments from Chuck Zukowski, Heather Taddy, Michelle Belanger, Dustin Perry, Steve Gonzalez, Chip Coffey, and Ken Boggle, who I'm really happy about, and even a couple more that I'm working on right now.
And me. Don't worry about me. About what? I'm chopped liver over here?
No, but and Joel Sturgis.
There. See? How was that hard to say? Look at that. You're like, oh, reluctantly say it.
But, yeah. So, and that's just the start. I've got a couple other, like I said, a couple others that I'm working for. And also, if you want to buy tickets for July, you automatically get the October e-convention for free.
Absolutely. So check it out. Buy your tickets now. Be part of the event. We look forward to having you.
MNParacon.com.
All right, we got to get out of here. When we come back, we have Doug Hajicek joining us. We're going to talk all about paranormal goodness as far as Bigfoot goes and Monster Quest, all that kind of good stuff. Be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's a shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Michael O'Neill. Tonight we have a great show for everybody. We have the producer of Monster Quest on, Doug Hajicek, with us. And Doug and I, we met actually at an event this last week in the Minnesota Bigfoot Conference, which was a huge success, by the way. And I'm looking forward to next year. And I know Doug is looking forward to it as well. It'll be a lot of fun. So if you missed this year, there will be a next year. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But Doug and I start talking, and Doug has some fascinating theories. But I suppose better tell the audience exactly who Doug Hajicek is. Doug Hajicek has been a very successful television producer and television personality and everything else for more than 30 years. His accomplishments are, of course, the producer of Monster Quest. But what he's doing now, you're going to find to blow your minds, by the way. But get this. He filmed the very first giant squid, Mike. 54 feet long, living in the natural habitat.
That's a big squid.
That is huge. That is huge. And Doug resides in Minnesota here with us, so we're all good, fine Minnesota folk talking. Without any further ado, Mr. Doug Hajicek, welcome to After Hours AM.
Thank you. Hello, Joel and Mike. How you guys doing?
We are doing great. How are you doing today?
Doing phenomenal.
Doing good. I'm kind of getting sick of the swampy Minnesota weather we're having.
Right? And that can go away at a point.
Yeah, I hope it does. It just reminds me of breathing a swamp. Really bad.
Yeah.
It makes me really appreciate my central air.
Yes, exactly.
See, now I live in a home that was built in 1898. Love it. I love it because the charm of it and all the things that come with it. But one thing I don't like about it is we have radiant heat. That's actually period correct. And with that, you don't get central heat, cooling.
Right.
It kind of sucks.
Joel, your house is the only house I've ever been to where you can get a shower in every room.
What are you talking about?
Your sweat. It's so hot in your house.
It is not that hot in my house. Relax.
It's really hot in your house.
Oh, no, it's not. My Lord. This is not the time to cry, Mike. We have a guest on the horn with us.
I'm not crying at all. I'm just trying to make a point. That's all. That's what I'm here for.
Point taken. All right. Buck up, Buttercup.
Joel, if I come up, it'll be over the winter.
Yes, you're always welcome. Come on up. And I would love that because there's some great locations I'd love to take you to. But we're going to just kind of gloss over this quick if you're willing. How did you get into tracking Bigfoot and cryptids, and how did you get into being the producer of Monster Quest?
Well, let's see. For many years, I was the producer for Ron Shera, which has a show that's been running about 30 years now. So that was my first show. And then on a trip with him, I was up in the Arctic.
Mm-hmm.
We got out of the boat one time at Selwyn Lake to just relieve ourselves. And there were these footprints that were 16 inches long. We followed them, and the coolest thing was, this was life-changing. There was a footprint in front of the tree and a footprint behind the tree. And these trees are like 7 foot tall. They're kind of like our aspen trees, but they're stunted. And I thought, God, whatever this was, it stepped right over the tree. And there were the tracks. We came through this little tiny growth of stunted trees, and you could see the tracks going off into the horizon because there's no tree cover up in the Arctic. It was, the moss. And so they were very deep, and they were just clear as day. And there they were. And then we did a test on this like pea gravel where they were down an inch deep. And we tried leaping. A guy that was with was 300 and some pounds. He leaped off a rock, didn't even dent it.
Damn.
And the soil was, and so we're like, oh, okay. So we were literally thinking whatever this was, we don't want to meet it. So we got back. We did a quick stand up. Got back in the boat, got out of there. We went to the float plane pilot, and we begged him to get up in the float plane and see where these tracks went, because there's no doubt the track maker would have still been there. There's no place to hide, unlike our forest.
Yeah.
There's tree cover. There's no place they could hide, and I would have had broadcast quality footage of a Bigfoot in the Arctic. Well, he thought we were playing a joke, and so he got a little angry and threw his clipboard, and he got red in the face and swore at us, and we just kind of backed out of the tent. That was the end of that. But I got back home, and I never could get that out of my mind. Something made those tracks. I knew they were not bear. I had already been doing a lot of bear research at that time, and I understood the way a bear can step in its hind foot, can step in. They weren't bear, wasn't polar bear, And so it had to be the only thing we could think of, which was a Bigfoot. And so I got back, and all I did was start calling people. I called Matt Moneymaker, of all people. And, of course, Matt talked my ear off. Oh, these things are everywhere. And I was like, what? And that started a journey with me and Matt trying to get a TV show on the air. We sold Legend Meets Science to Discovery, produced that, which was, pretty eye-opening for a lot of people because it was the first scientific documentary that, had ever really been done. And then I went on from that to do a series called Mysterious Encounters. That was on the Outdoor Life Network. And so that was just, it was me, Autumn Williams, Matt Moneymaker, and a team of people. We would travel all over the motorhome. And it was kind of pretty much the forerunner to finding Bigfoot. We had the backpacks with the cameras, front and rear, and the whole deal. So that ended, and I was pitching a documentary called Giganto, the Real King Kong. But before that, I had a name. It was just Gigantopithecus or something. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted it. Suddenly, I changed the name to the Real King Kong, sold it in the first day to a network. We did that for history, and it aired, and it got record ratings, like doubled their highest ratings. And they just simply called me literally the next day and said, Doug, do you want to make more of these? And I said, heck yeah.
And that's how Monster Quest.
Yes, correct. Yep. But it was just, to see those tracks, Joel, was just life-changing.
I could just imagine.
You think of all the thousands of people I've met, all of the scientists I've met, and just, it's kind of weird if you think about it. I met you. Same reason.
Yeah.
I met all sorts of cool people last weekend. I mean, I was just amazed the quality of the people that were up there. Things have changed. I mean, we're not looking at nuts anymore. We're looking at, some really solid, well-to-do people that are really fascinated with this topic. It's changed.
Well, what I like, too, is, like you said, the quality of people, but we also, oddly enough, we met a couple gentlemen by happenstance that were doing work for SpaceX.
Yeah. Oh no, I know, it's incredible.
Which is crazy. I mean, it's not just your Joe Blow anymore. It's really educated people that are looking for more answers.
Yeah, I think I was just amazed at all the friends I made there that were pretty high end. I mean, these were very successful people, and Abe did an amazing job.
Yeah, he did.
It was really classy convention. I was impressed.
Yeah, next year will be even bigger and even better. And Doug will be back, I'm sure, and I'll be back, and Mike will be with me next year, even though he missed it this year, but he'll be back next year. Now, you saw these tracks, and of course, were you scared of running into what made those tracks, though, being there in the Arctic?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because there's nowhere to hide. There's no trees to climb. Like I said, there were these, might have been 20 7-foot trees that, but literally the people I was with, which was, I believe, Ron and his brother, I mean, they wanted to get back. Mm-hmm. We had we saw the tracks going off in the horizon, but that didn't mean they circled back around.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it might not decide to take a keen interest in what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So, in those days, too, I just figured Bigfoot was a killer. I didn't know that they were gentle and used tactics of intimidation, kind of non-confrontational means. They'll throw rocks, they'll scream at you, they'll do all sorts of things to scare you, but I don't think they'll attack you.
So I do have a question, because especially since you brought up the whole, there are guys from SpaceX and stuff like that. Do you believe that, which way for you is better, like the old school where you're doing the calls and you got, binoculars, you're out at night and knocking on the trees and taking molds and stuff of prints is going to kind of solve solve the mystery of Bigfoot, or do you believe like all of this new technology that's coming out, like FLIRs and drones and all this other stuff, that science has like a bigger part to play in trying to figure out what and who Bigfoot is, or would you prefer like the old school ways?
Well, I think I don't think it's really good to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think wood knocking is an amazing attractant. It works. It's worked every single. I don't think I've had one failure. If you're in the right area and you do a few wood knocks, you're letting, if there's any creatures in the area, you're letting them know somebody else is in town, and they are going to check you out. I don't do a lot of screaming or call blasting except using coyote calls. And the reason I use coyote calls because I feel that they work in conjunction with coyotes and wolves, which kind of brings up a whole bunch of new theories on interspecies working together. Probably, I think it was like 10 years ago, I put a camera in a beaver lodge. And I just wanted to know what really goes on in a wild beaver lodge. No one had ever in history seen what happens there 24/7. So I worked almost 2 years to get a camera inside, chiseling week after week, driving up to Ely, chiseling, figuring out a way to get this tube into the top of the beaver lodge without scaring the beavers out. So we did that, and within 4 minutes of turning that camera on, I see muskrats. And I'm like, well, what the hell is going on? Oh, man, I'm all let down. There's no beavers in here. A couple minutes later, here come these giant beavers through the hole. The muskrats start grooming them. And I'm like, oh, my God. This is amazing. I mean, these are two completely different species. So we observed over a long period of time, almost a whole season, these muskrats doing all the bedding for the beavers, making sure it's all perfect. The muskrats would work on the walls and the roof. And the muskrats would groom the beavers, for hours, getting all the parasites out of their fur. And so then the female got pregnant, and we thought, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. Then a wolf chewed through our cable.
Oh,
so we don't. What happened? But this is an example of how little we know about what goes on in the forest. For instance, there is evidence, I've seen it with my own eyes, of yearling black bears, and I do say yearlings, working with these creatures. Yearling black bears have a scent. They can pick up a scent 1,000 times better than a hominid. It's because of the way their nose is long. They have just tons of olfactory glands. And I've had, I don't really want to get into all the stories yet because it's unproven, but I'm setting out to kind of work on this because it can be proven that these things are working in conjunction with yearling black bears. I also think they work with cannons. I've seen too much first-hand information. I've actually had coyotes thrown out in front of us that have recently had their back snapped. So they're alive, but they're tossed out on the trail, just like a rock, to scare you. But the coyote's paralyzed but extremely alive. And I'm thinking, okay, well, there's no way this thing could have grabbed the coyote just randomly. Yeah. This coyote must have been habituated and used to this Bigfoot. And it sounds really crazy.
It's kind of like a hierarchy of the forest, maybe, is what you're saying? I mean, everything serves a purpose?
Okay, let's say, we all know, or more people know now, that wolves work with ravens. I used to work with Jim Brandenburg, and we used to put deer carcasses out, and, and the wolves would come in. The wolves would tear the carcasses open in the winter, especially in the winter when the carcasses are frozen. So the wolves would open them up and then back up and let the ravens feed. And just literally in a circle.
Yeah.
And let these ravens feed. And the ravens were treated by the wolves like kings and queens. The ravens could get away with pulling their tails. Would you think a wolf would just snap and eat the raven? No. The wolves totally let the ravens pretty much do whatever they want to them. And so think about it. They have aerial reconnaissance to look for injured deer that are stuck in the snow. And then the wolves come in, make the kill, because the raven can't kill the deer, right? And so the wolves kill the deer. The wolves open the carcass up. The ravens get to feed, and then they share the carcass. And the wolves honor the raven.
I was going to say there has to be a mutual beneficial relationship going on for that to go on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like nature's mafia.
For instance, I've had more response using I've got one secret coyote call that I do, and I've had more aggressive response, from Bigfoots, coming up to us, beating their chest, the middle of the night, middle of the dark, closer and closer every time we play a call. And then they hit me one day. Maybe they're not beating their chest because they think we're playing a coyote call, or because there's coyotes in the area. Maybe they're defending the pack that they're working with.
Gotcha.
Sometimes you got to think a little behind the curtain. You got to kind of reverse engineer, because it wouldn't make sense. Why would a Bigfoot care about coyotes in the area?
Yeah.
Well, so one day I'm up in the Canadian border, and I'm up there grouse hunting, just kind of on vacation. And one night, I was in my cot in our tent. I don't like sleeping on the ground, so I'm on this cot, and the ground starts shaking. Then it quits, and then a huge, a pretty large pack of maybe 10 animals comes running. Wolves run through my camp. You can hear them panting. You can hear the pads of their feet, one after another, leaping through the camp. And right behind it, I hear boom, 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 and this thing is running right behind the wolves. I'm talking second apart, and right through the camp. The ground, I am not exaggerating, was shaking. The cot I was in was just bouncing from the weight. And if you ever been to, up to Canada, the ground is pretty hollow from the glaciers and all the rocks. So, the ground was really bouncing. And so I thought, that's when I had my firsthand knowledge of Bigfoot's working with wolves.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
With wolves, Joel and Mike, they're now getting the ravens. It's a 2-for-1 bargain.
Yeah.
See? So it's a 2-for-1. They don't have to work with the ravens. They just have to work with the wolves. They get the ravens. And who do the ravens work with? They probably maybe work with the jays. Who do the jays work with? And so it's this kind of a bargain. They get all these different eyes and ears in the forest, all for free.
Well, like squirrels. Once you get a squirrel chattering, it's pretty much over for a little while.
Oh, they're the gossipers of the forest.
That is the early warning system of the forest, I'm convinced.
Well, I really, bears, I've been doing a lot of bear research. I just had a paper published in the Journal of Animals, which I'm very proud of, finally, after, God knows, the 25 years of research. Finally got a paper published on hibernation and how how baby cubs are born, how they're fed, and all that. So now I'm starting to observe and getting a lot of trail camera photos where I'm getting a glimpse of maybe a part of a Sasquatch, and there's always a yearling bear in the picture. And the yearling bear is always looking at whatever's sticking its elbow in, or its arm in, or some other body part in. I can never, and the bear is just staring at whatever's standing there.
Well, that's just it, Doug. I don't mean to interrupt you, but these trap cams are everywhere, right? They're ubiquitous. They're everywhere now.
And millions of them.
Just this last week, an individual came to me, told me about a goose he put up about 8-9 feet in the air. And he had a camera on it, rolling all the time, catching, you name it, was coming to this thing to pick at a little bit, whether it be birds or this or that. He got all that on film. But something came in and stole this carcass of this goose. Well, should have been well within the view of the camera, and all he saw was the tips of fingers.
Right. Yep. That's exactly. It's this. This is something I get calls on every week. People are mystified. Okay, I put 12 apples out. They suddenly, we're getting pictures of deer and squirrels and birds, and then suddenly, bam, all of the apples are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Just disappeared. One flash. They're all gone. And people are really, they're just confused. And so what I'm going to be doing finally is we're going to be working with a trail cam company. And they're going to be able to see these images are going to be beamed to them, along with me and some other people. But they're going to be beamed to them so they can see, okay, there's the camera getting installed. There's the food bait that goes missing every day. There, and we've made it so you can't take it instantly. It's like nailed to a tree. You got to pull it off. It takes time. You got to unscrew a jar. And there's the squirrel, there's the deer, and then bam, all of a sudden the jar's gone. No pictures. Over and over and over, for months of this. So it's like, no, we're going to get these technicians involved, because all we know, there's a technician that goes, I know exactly what to do. No one's ever asked. How come nobody's ever asked? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of amateur researchers. Nobody's ever asked. So we asked, and they said, sure, we'd love to.
That's all it took.
There you go. And
we're just to ask the gatekeeper and going, hey, mind helping?
Just a call. Well, it's because it really is going to, think about it. They're going to get a picture. They're going to get another picture, and they're going to get another picture, and the bait's going to be there. And then suddenly it's going to be gone, and it's going to be fooling their trap. So now their pride is at stake, and they know there could be no foolery. There's no dinking around. There's no way to get in there and take this down. So that's kind of what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping.
That'll be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So and then maybe they have some filter, some lens, or some secret little shutter thing, algorithm they wrote. They've never released. We don't know.
If you put these cameras out and you get like the clear image, and it is Bigfoot, you're not going to, you can't. I guess I can't say you're going to disprove it, but I mean, like, it is for sure like an animal, and you have this photo. What is the process like? What would happen after that? Like, are you able to release it? Are you able to talk about it? Would the government get involved and try to stop you from that sort of thing? What would happen after that happens?
The first thing I would do is send as many photos as I can out to as many people as I know and as many scientists. I would send them to every primatologist where I've got their email, and I've got a lot of them. And I would get them involved immediately. I would probably fly a couple in, and we'd get to work that way. I'm not, I wouldn't worry about the government, because at some point, once everybody's got these real clear, close-up, National Geographic quality photos, there's not much they can do, and you can't fake National Geographic quality high-res photos, especially in sequence. There's no way. So would it get every scientist to believe this is real? No, but it would raise the bar tremendously. At that point, I could call Ian Redmond. He'd be here in 5 minutes. He'd be on the next plane. I could call Jane Goodall. She would come. These people would come. I really don't. I think there'd be a lot of cooperation, but we need the clear, close-up, sequential photos.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wouldn't say I'm like Mr. Credible, but I've got some credibility. There's some.
I would say you got quite a bit there, Doug, to be honest with you.
Well, some, but there's going to be a lot of skeptics. But just think about raising the bar to the last 3 pegs, there's always those last 3 pegs. Great. Joel, you could go out and kill 2 of them tomorrow and really have them, and they would say, oh, they're just, it's a fluke.
Yeah, it's a malfunction. Yeah, it's a gene problem or what have you.
Right. Gene, yeah. And, that wouldn't necessarily prove it either, but it would raise the bar huge until a scientific paper can be written, peer-reviewed, and in a journal. And then it gets accepted. And that has not happened yet. Melba Ketchum may have done an amazing job with the DNA. I have no idea. I wasn't there, but it didn't get published correctly. We all know the story there, So it's got to be.
Getting back to the cameras really quickly, because a lot of them utilize IR to trip the camera, right? Is there something in their eyesight that they're seeing these beams? Go ahead.
Joel, it's not IR that trips these cameras. Everybody thinks there's IR tripping these cameras. It's really passive sensors that are off. They're not giving off any power. They're not giving off electricity. They're gathering electricity. They're gathering power from a living creature. Does that make sense?
Okay, yep.
So they're not really projecting anything. But cameras are projecting hum, possibly when they're activated a little bit. There could be battery current leakage. The plastics have a lot of fumes that come off. I don't really think there's a lot of EMF, but there could be a little bit from the batteries. So what's happening is, it seems supernatural. I mean, it really does. But I'm still not going to go jump. You can't just jump everything right to supernatural and just go, well, absolutely, they're quantum or they're this or they're in another dimension. It's just, you can't do that until you've really exhausted a whole lot more. I would say in 10 years, after being frustrated for another 10 years, I might kind of come to that conclusion. But I'm more in the super ability conclusion. These things no doubt have super abilities. Lots of humans do. We have our own. We have amazing super abilities. These creatures probably have some, and one of them probably is seen in the UV realm. And so if every Bigfoot researcher needs to go buy a UV flashlight. That's the first thing I would give advice to everybody. They've proven for sure caribou can see in UV. That allows them to see urine. It allows them to see what plants and lichens are the most ripe. It allows them to see each other's urine if they get separated, to be able to catch up to the herd.
Sure.
It allows them to see the predators that are after them. And so and think about it. Where did caribou come from? They came across the land bridge, just like these things did. So it may not be a big stretch that they can see in UV. It would provide amazing nutrition. These things get their big muscles from really packing on the protein. And that means when if they're eating a cattail, for instance, they're going to eat the one with the most protein. You think, oh, there's thousands of cattails. No, they're not all the same. There may only be 2 cattails that have the highest protein grade. They're going to eat those, just like bears do. And I suspect bears can see in UV. They'll be in an aspen tree and the catkins will come out, and they'll only eat certain ones. Why is that? It's got to be UV vision. They can see the nutrition, the ones that are full of the most nutrition.
Is it kind of like...
So they're getting...
Just to break it down for the audience, is a bit on a layman's terms kind of like a predator vision, where they're seeing these things and we cannot even grasp what they're seeing, but they are seeing the signatures of what they need.
Oh, but we can get a UV flashlight. You can see damn near the same thing we can see. You can see the same thing that a caribou can see. Urine glows. It's the proteins that glow. For instance, I've got this new theory, and it hit me. This was only like 3 weeks ago. I was watching another, like I've seen so many times, fingerprints. Like somebody, they were out camping. Something, rocked their camper, scared the hell out of them. They get up the next morning, there's huge fingerprints on the window. And they always go, oh, it left these big dusty fingerprints. And I'm thinking, when you touch a dusty window, you pull away the dust. You don't leave dust.
Yeah.
But you can go on YouTube and type in, Bigfoot fingerprints, Sasquatch. Everybody goes, oh my God, look at these dusty fingerprints. And then it hit me. Ooh, maybe it's not dust. Maybe it's a very thick oil that oxidizes, Maybe, and of course, these fingerprints glow in UV light. Maybe they're using this oil they have in their hands, to mark territory. Maybe they use it to know where they've gone. This oil could serve some purpose. I don't know what it is, but I suspect it's used. If they have UV vision, they can see where they've been. They can see the huge areas of urination. I've always found it weird. We have had rocks thrown at us at high speed when we're out in the field and somebody goes off and urinates. So many times rocks are thrown. They get really angry when someone urinates, which is territorial. But I'm also thinking they're out cruising the forest for these big, you can only imagine what a Bigfoot would do and, the area that it would leave in marking. So it's possible the UV vision also, allows them to do that. So it, could be a lot of things we haven't thought of. So I'm pursuing this fingerprint, and we're collecting fingerprints right now. And I know other people that have collected them because their fingers, only their fingers, ours don't. They react to banana peels. Bigfoots don't like bananas, okay? It sounds like they would, but they don't. But they will handle them. And then after a half a day, those fingerprints turn the banana skin black.
Interesting. So the banana skin
reacts
to that, whatever that oil is.
Yes, correct. Absolutely. And so we've proven that. So we know there's something different than human oil. Their oil contains, it could be from a fern they're eating. Could be, ferns are real acidy. It could be from the rhizomes of the ferns. Maybe they're feasting on these things. They all do. And maybe that just produces a very acidic oil. You don't know. It's too.
Is Bigfoot, in your opinion, actively evading mankind?
Yes, I think they do for a bunch of reasons. It's how they survive. They operate on fear. There's no doubt. Black bears have survived all these years. They operate on fear too. But they're not as smart. They're not as smart. They get busted, and their hunger overtakes their fear. I literally got a call tonight. A cabin got just banged really hard, broad daylight. But they were all inside the cabin. They happened to have two young children in the cabin that were being very giggly and very talkative. Happens to be in a good Bigfoot habitat. And they were calling to go, what in the world smacked our cabin? I even talked to the kids. They said it was so loud that they're still afraid. It was really, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
They do that. I mean, it's a common story, Joel. I'm sure you've heard it many times.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Mike. I know.
I was saying, it sounded like Bigfoot wanted him to shut up. Like you're banging on a hotel wall. Like, hey, I'm trying to sleep here. I want some quiet.
Could be, but I think they're just wanting attention. I know they're attracted to children. There's no doubt. I've heard so many firsthand stories where they, even the Memorial Day footage, they had seen that animal because there were kids out playing frisbee and all these little kids, and this thing kept coming around, peeking around trees, watching them. Very well could be a female with kids, a female with a juvenile. They're just curious.
Yeah.
I've had good luck with children's sounds. So I don't think they're annoyed by the sound because they can just walk away. I think they're jealous or they're wanting to interact with the kids. For all I know, they wanted the kids to come outside. That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And literally, if they're been there to say, don't go out there, they would have stepped this, 8-year-old and a 4-year-old would have been outside.
Yeah.
Not a good situation.
Do you think it's an energy thing? Like spirits. Spirits are, I don't want to say they're attracted to kids, but kids can see them more than adults because they still have that innocence. They still have that innocent energy to them where they're not going to judge them or be scared of them or any of that stuff. I mean, do you think that they avoid adults, but they understand that children they don't pose a threat to them.
Do you remember that story, Mike, of the little boy who was missing? He went missing, disappeared, and then went missing. They found him up on a high hill, literally in a briar bush. And he said a bear took care of him.
I do remember that story.
I don't.
You know dang well it wasn't a bear that took care of that kid.
No, that was Squatch.
The kid had survived several nights of below freezing weather. Something kept that kid warm.
Yeah, no bear is going to, look after a child.
No, I do not believe it would have been a black bear. So you get into this maternal thing, and who knows? I do know the first time the cabin was attacked up at Snelgrove Lake. Just coincidence or not, we had 3 young girls there. We'd all taken our daughters there. That's when I had been going up there, guys, for 20 years. Nothing had ever really happened. Certainly no interacting. There were a couple of guys that would come back from camp and say, gee, I had a big log come sailing over the top of the trees and landed in the water by my boat. Stuff like that, but nothing really at the camp. I just didn't even think about Bigfoot when I was up there. Such a vast area. But anyhow, so we bring my daughter up there, Dakota. Joe brings his daughter Maria, and Vladimir brings his daughter Ina. Lo and behold, we're coming out of I call it a hidden lake, and we're pulling out of this shallow stream to get into this lake that was really creepy. Come out, and bam, there's a wood knock right by the boat. I mean, it wasn't even 10 feet from our boat. And suddenly it just once again, the dots connect, I hadn't connected the dots in 20 years. I'd never done a wood knock there. I had never done anything to attract them. Never even occurred to me. And then suddenly I said, okay, so we all hear this. And I say to Joe and Vlad, I said, we're going to do wood knocking tonight. So we wait till I don't know, 1 and 2 in the morning. Big Russian guy takes this thing and cracks the most perfect wood knock you ever heard. We get an answer within 3 seconds, 12 feet from us.
Oh,
you should have seen 3 grown men turn white. We turned white. So then we end up with a rock exchange with this thing for hours. We did them underhand. It's one key. Throw them underhand. They throw them underhand. Land by your feet every time. We throw one in there, throw it back out, throw it in. It's just like right out of a movie. And so it's there, but everything's cool, right? And then it did its grand finale, threw a big rock next to us, and right at the edge of the lake, did a big splash, and then it was gone. Right, the rock interchange ended. So we decided, let's hang it up and go to bed. I said, I'm going to stay up for a few minutes and read Field and Stream magazine, probably from 1982.
Okay, how any of you guys could sleep after this, I do not know.
I could.
Give you guys kudos.
Joel. Yeah, I'm full of adrenaline. So I'm just reading a boring old 1982 Field and Stream. I light a candle. I'm reading it by candlelight. I start getting tired now after about 20 minutes of this, and I go, okay, I'm going to go brush my teeth and hit the hay. So I go up to the sink, and this is a solar-powered cabin. I turn the solar-powered light on above my head, and I'm facing the back of the cabin at a window. I'm about a foot away from a window. Flick the light on, and all of a sudden, within, I'm talking instantly, the cabin was attacked. Whatever was out there, I must have scared the living daylights out of them, because they might have been standing right there, but suddenly I'm glowing under this, battery-powered fluorescent light. I've got white hair. My hair must have glowed.
Oh, I bet.
These things start screaming, pounding on the cabin wall, throwing stuff up on the roof, lifting the cabin, literally from the foundation, which is just blocks. It's up on blocks. So they were grabbing each corner of the cabin and rocking the cabin back and forth, screaming. I hear running on the roof, which sounded like a juvenile up on the roof. I hear more than one out there. I look at the open skylight. I'm hearing activity on the roof, like I said. I look at this. There's this long pole you have to put up at the skylight to twist it shut. That's all I could think of, was get that skylight shut. So the cabin is now flexing back and forth, screaming's going on, running on the roof, stuff's hitting the roof, and I'm trying to get the skylight shut, right?
Oh, my God.
I get it shut. I run into Vladimir. I go for the biggest guy. I run into Vladimir, and I start beating on his back to wake him up. They don't wake up. I'm like, this is weird. I'm pounding. I'm hitting them as hard as I can. No one is waking up. I run into Joe's room. I start pounding on his back and pounding on his back. And while I'm pounding on it, it all quits. Just stops.
Just
like
cold
that.
stops. Like quickly as it began, quickly it stops.
As quick as it started, it quit. And I'm like, oh my God, I just lived through a B horror movie.
Wow. Wow. So you're going to just try to process this really quickly. You're going through something that I haven't heard since the Ape Canyon when people talked about that. And so it's a full-on assault is what you're dealing with.
It was a full-on assault of the cabin. Whatever it was out in the back of the cabin, there's definitely more than one. There's no way they could have done that much, activity out there. And I could hear them chattering. Picture the Moorhead sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But that mixed in with screams, and like there were two of them fighting. It sounded like two of them were arguing back and forth at each other. Not even this. It was like, so I kind of pictured in my mind a juvenile that got scared, jumped up on the roof, and they're trying to get it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're trying to get away from you.
They're trying to get it. They're scared, but their juvenile is up on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could literally hear running up on the roof, back and forth. It's a tin roof. So it's quite easy to tell if there's an animal up there. And so I just pictured this scenario. And they were lifting the cabin up and rocking it back and forth while they're chattering, screaming, yelling, and stuff is being thrown at the roof and at the side of the cabin. Were there two of them out there, three of them, four? I have no idea. Don't know. Didn't see a thing. But just picture them standing out there all peaceful, spying on me, right?
Yeah.
I walk up to the window and flick on a fluorescent light, and it lights my face and hair up.
And that's all it took. That's all it took.
That's all it took. I didn't have to shoot one. I didn't have to do anything. And that's all it took to really get them startled. Yep.
What did you come away with after that weekend? I mean, what went through your head? Obviously, you're reviewing events of that weekend. You had to have been just overwhelmed.
Yes. And then the next day we were getting picked up by the float plane pilot. His name is Chuck. And so he comes, and I tell him the whole story. Tell him everything. And he goes, well, it's more likely, I certainly believe it's more likely that was a Bigfoot than any people up here. And I said, oh, really? Of course it's not people.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, oh, did you know the cabin was destroyed? I'd never heard this before. And I said, what do you mean destroyed? He goes, well, I think a bear got in and destroyed the whole cabin. He said pipes were bent. The pipes where it pumps water in the lake were bent, big solid steel pipe. Said the stove was flipped over. Refrigerator was flipped over. All the shelves and cabinets were ripped away from the wall. And he said there was so much debris on the floor, it was crazy. I said, well, there were broken windows? No. And I'm asking him all these questions now. And he said, the weirdest thing was they ripped up every little, there were like, everybody would bring their own playing cards up.
Mm-hmm.
So there were probably 30 decks of playing cards. It ripped every card in all these 30 decks into little pieces, little tiny pieces on the floor.
They ain't no bear.
Then it went out, flipped over a 1,200-pound fuel tank that was for the airplane fuel. Flipped it upside down, broke the pipe off, bent down, even bent the sink down. But I said, Chuck, I've been coming to this cabin 20 years. I said, I know every mark on the walls. There's not one scratch in this cabin. You did not replace any wood, did you? He goes, no, there weren't any scratches. No claw marks, no bite marks. And once again, I'm sure you guys both know, living in bear country, bear comes in your house. He chews up all the windowsills.
Yep.
chews up all the woodwork. You can tell. There's been teeth everywhere and claws. There wasn't a mark. I'm telling you, this is my life. There was not one mark anywhere. How do you rip a cabinet off the wall without leaving a mark?
Right. And there's no way, for damn sure, a bear wants anything to do with a gas tank.
No, of course not. And if it was humans, they would have broke the windows out.
Yep.
That would have been the first thing. No windows broken. And then who in the world is going to sit there for days and days and break? Okay, they took a couple of people had left, portable radios up there, like battery-powered radios so they could listen to CDs or whatever. They even broke those up into little tiny pieces.
Jeez.
So there was so much debris. It was like deep on the floor. And I said to him, well, this has got to be a Bigfoot. Same thing that attacked the cabin. He said, maybe it is, So he was totally, he was supportive. And then then I said to him, well, what is that nail? There was a screw board in the back. And since I had my kids up there, and, I said, that's kind of dangerous. The thing's leaning out on the back of the cabin by the outhouse, and the nails, it's razor sharp. One of my kids could have fallen on it.
Sure.
He said, oh, that was our welcome mat for bears. After this damage, they put those out. And so I said, well, did it work? And he goes, yeah, we came one time in late October, and there was blood everywhere. He said there was definitely tissue on the nail board. And I hadn't examined it yet.
Yeah.
I go back there and look and see there's chunks of fat, literally fat and blood.
That's a honey hole of DNA right there, Doug.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because it's screws. If you step on a screw that's 2 inches long and it goes through your foot, that's going to leave a mark. It's going to really pull up. You pull it away, it's going to take chunks of flesh out. So I took the screw board and I put it in the shed. I said, I'm coming back with scientists. And that's when I brought Meldrum and Kurt Nelson from the University of Minnesota. And the cabin then, of course, was attacked. We had the cabin attack. We had rocks. And we took the flesh for DNA. But the other weird thing was Chuck had taken video of the cabin damage for an insurance because he had a hell of an insurance claim.
Yeah.
And so I featured footage of the cabin destroyed, in Monster Quest and the Sasquatch attack. So.
Wow, did you ever, after this all went down, have you been back since?
Oh, God. Every time we went back, I brought all sorts of people up there. The same thing happened. The thing would come around usually before dawn, late, like 4:30. The sun comes up really early up there in August. It's almost 24-hour sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
So the sun rises, it goes down quick, at almost midnight, it's dark, and then it comes up about 4:30 in the morning. So about 4:30, last time I was up there, I heard urinating right outside my window, right where we urinate. And it was just going, and I thought it was Joe. I thought it was a guy because, we're all afraid to go to the outhouse. You're not walking back in the forest.
Yeah.
3 in the morning. It's not happening, especially all that we've witnessed. So I just thought it was Joe. It's quietly taken the butter knives out of the door and got out while I was sleeping, and he was peeing off the porch. But it kept going and going and going. And
it's quite the bladder.
I'm going, that ain't Joe. And right when I thought that, it took one of the rod cases we have leaned up against the cabin because we leave them outside. The cabin's too small. And it walked back, and he threw it at the cabin. Oh, before it did that, it slid the picnic table across the porch, which is just solid oak. It's like, or solid pine, thick wood. Takes 2 guys to lift it. And he slid across the porch. And I went, that's when it hit me. That ain't Joe. And then it threw this rod case so hard against the cabin, it literally woke every single person up. I did finally have enough courage because the sun was peeking out. There was enough sunlight out, or, daylight, kind of that blue, that blue look. And I flew out the door with a high-def camera. Meanwhile, I'm hearing a scream coming from one of the bedroom windows, and they got a glimpse of it ducking under the trees into the forest.
Oh, damn.
So I was really brave because it wasn't dark. You could actually see.
Yeah.
And I was just hoping to see this thing. My camera was on and running as I flew out the door, but didn't see anything. So
that's amazing, is what that is.
Yeah. So this is all the stuff that's not, certainly wasn't in the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do firearms have any deterrent towards them, or don't they give guns no mind?
Well, we didn't have any weapon. I can tell you after all these cabin attacks, I started begging the outfitter to leave me with a 30-30. And so I would then get left with one. I couldn't bring one in, so he would leave me with one, with ammunition, just in case. You never know. Never had to use it, never had to load it, but there were other times up there when me and Joe actually saw. There's a certain rock where we would we'd go clean our walleyes and bring the entrails out to this rock, and there was always one giant seagull for 10 years. It's one seagull, he guards that rock, and he eats all these entrails. Literally, we were burning our burnables, and we hear all of this like chimp chatter coming from that area. And me and Joe watched two dark figures walking behind that rock, maybe 4 feet into the forest. But once again, the chatter was like they were arguing. It was interaction. It was two of them. And it's not like just two chimps fighting.
Jeez. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have enough bravery to go back to Snelgrove Lake after all that.
You get a little nervous when you're on the plane and it lands and then the plane takes off and you have no cell, no phone, no way of getting a hold of anybody. You've got thin, not even thermal plane. It's just thin plate glass, the kind that one little pebble will break it. And you've got a door with two doors, front and back, with no locks. And they're paper thin. They're real, it's an outpost cabin.
It's a shelter in the loosest term of the word.
It's a shelter. Yeah, that's all it is. And, if it wants to come in there, it's coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not. So we would put butter knives in the door just so it would make more of a sound if one came in. Because apparently they know how to turn the doorknobs. Because Chuck said when it left, it shut the doors behind it.
Well, that's awfully courteous.
Well, that was that's when I decided I'm not coming up here without it. I need a firearm.
Yeah, some noisemaker of some type to at least be some type of a threat.
Butter knives were our friend. That was it. Butter knives.
That is crazy. That is crazy, Doug. That chatter you talked about, I've heard that a lot. That's that samurai chatter. Am I right, or is that different?
It wasn't. This was more angry chatter, extremely angry, as if two Bigfoots were in a, literally a war.
Yeah, they were turf war.
Yeah, it was like they were just like a husband and wife going at it. Chimps. If you ever heard chimps going at it, but yeah, there was that tonal quality was really highs and really lows. It would go from a high-pitched scream to just this low rumble, just boom, 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 boom. It was up and down, up and down.
You might have stumbled into a family affair there.
That's well, I think maybe the thing I, kind of envisioned is maybe what happened.
Wow. Well, I hate to say it, but we're darn near out of time, Doug. Darn near out of time already. 1 hour just flies right by. We just don't have enough time. One story. Yep. But fear not, faithful. Doug and I have talked, and you're going to hear a lot more from Doug in the future. This isn't just a one and done. We have some big plans coming up in the future, so stay tuned. to iHeartRadio, and you're going to hear a lot more of these kinds of stories, and not only from Doug, but from other people as well. So we're nowhere near done with that. And Doug, I got to say, I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been an honor to meet you. I got to meet you in person, like I said, at the Minnesota Bigfoot Conference. And again, there will be a next year to the conference. So if you missed this year, keep your eyes peeled. The Minnesota Bigfoot Research Team website, mnbrt.com. And in the meantime, Doug, we'll be in touch. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep, it was an honor to meet both you, Joel, and it was great talking with you, Mike.
Absolutely, Doug.
Until next time, guys, take care of each other and love each other. And, hey, look out for those squatches. They just, you might be in their territory. After Hours AM is a production of Midwest Radio Production. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And please visit www.americas-most-haunted.com.